What's up, guys? In this video, I'm going to describe one of the better budget phones out there. Is the Samsung Galaxy A03s. It's a prepaid phone, and if you're looking for a phone that doesn't cost $1,000 or $9 or $8 or $7 or $500, no. A lot of these phones that are available to people now, especially on prepaid, you can get them for free or under $50 or even under 100. Just tons of price points, and this is typically one of the lower end phones out there, but the lower end phones have gotten so good now, and this one kind of surprised me when you go over the specs. So I'm sure you can get this for free at any of the carriers now, so at Cricket, at Boost, and at Metro if you port in your number, and even if you don't, you can get this phone for under $100. So let's just take a deep dive into this good budget phone. It compares really good actually to the S22 and high-end Android phones. So let's go ahead and get started. This is a newer phone, released in August of 2021. It's LTE only, not 5G, but that's okay. The build quality is plastic all around. Typically, that's what you're gonna get at this price point. The size, you're getting a 6.5-inch display, and you're getting a refresh rate of 60 hertz, which is, that's basically the baseline and the minimum for phones. You're not getting 90 or 120 hertz like these more expensive phones. Resolution is on the lower end at 720, which gives you PPI density of 270. So those are all typical specs of a lower end device, but it starts to get better. It's running Android 11 with Samsung UI on top. And this is the same type of software that you're going to find on flagship models. This software is the same type of software you'll find on more expensive phones. And you're gonna download the same apps, use them exactly the same way. But this phone does have a more lower end chipset. It has a MediaTek Helio P35 processor. But for the most tasks that everybody does on a daily basis, the average user, these apps aren't that heavy. So basically what I'm saying is that you don't need a crazy processor, you don't need a high-end processor to do daily tasks and deal with regular apps. So a lot of these companies are switching from a Snapdragon to a MediaTek, but everything's more optimized now, and basically all the apps are going to behave the same. The performance of the phones are typically going to be fine if you're just not doing anything crazy like gaming or editing or anything like that. Next on this phone is the storage. Now, typically, this phone is going to be found with 32 gigs of internal storage, but it's expandable with a micro SD card slot. So that right away solves a problem of not having a 64 or 128 gigs. You can easily add storage to this phone. RAM, typically you're going to find this phone at 3 gigs of RAM, which is, I wish I had 4 or even 6 gigs of RAM, but as long as you're not doing a lot of intensive tasks, this phone should be totally fine for most people. Moving on to the camera, this one has 3 cameras: 13 megapixel main, 2 megapixel macro, 2 megapixel depth. The only camera that is missing is the ultra wide. But hey, this is supposed to be a low end phone. You can shoot video in 1080p. Selfie camera is 5 megapixels at 1080p, so a pretty good setup. I say you're gonna take decent photos and videos if in the daytime, and Samsung typically has great cameras compared to a lot of the other manufacturers out there at the low end price range. A bonus on this phone, it has a headphone jack. That's always nice. It has typical Bluetooth. It will connect to your smartwatch, your wireless headphones, and your speakers and stuff. And this phone actually has NFC available. So, that's a feature that's not found on a lot of budget phones. And it has a side-mounted fingerprint reader. So this phone pretty much has everything that you need. Things that I look for in mid-range to higher end. This one has it. I have a fingerprint reader. It has NFC. So this one's looking pretty nice. And the battery it's always been a highlight. That's one of the most important things of a phone is how big the battery is. And this has a mighty 5,000 milliamp battery. That's the standard now. Battery, it's in 2020 now, that's the minimum now, guys, is 5,000, and that goes across the board with budget phones, mid-range, and flagships. 5,000 milliamps. Android phones should not have battery problem issues. They don't have small battery anymore. This is basically the standard now, and it doesn't matter which price range you get it. All phones should have great battery life, and this is no exception. And also, this one has fast charging, but only at 15 watts, but that's still pretty fast. you know, considering that this is a 5,000 milliamp battery. So if you do manage to use up a lot of the battery, it should charge fairly quick enough for you to, you know, to not have it to be stuck to the wall charging. So that's okay, as long as it's not 10 watts like other ones, or 5 watts like a regular iPhone charger, for example. So yeah, guys, this phone is a pretty good budget buy. It's available across all the carriers, Cricket, Metro, Boost. You can get it under $100, but, you know, port your number and you can get it for free. This is, you know, not everybody wants to spend a lot of money on a phone, especially me. And I find this phone has a lot of value. It has all the stuff that you pretty much need. You know, you got a fingerprint reader, you got NFC, you got the big battery, you got several cameras in the back. It has the same UI as a $1,000 Samsung flagship phone. And the price point, you just can't beat it. So yeah, for the most part, I think everybody will like this phone to a certain extent. So yeah, guys, let me know what you guys think about this phone, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.